My parents kicked me out for my pregnant sister on my 18th birthday. But karma stole the spotlight at her wedding. Allow me to illustrate the dynamics of my family for you. My name is Deborah, and I was born into a family who publicly called me their midlife mistake. My dad, Michael, 65 million, is a middle management who never challenges my mom, Karen, 63, who is a career-obsessed corporate juggernaut. Then there is my sister, Jennifer, 32F, who has never given a damn about me and is 14 years older than me. I was an unwanted surprise when I entered this world. When mom found out she was pregnant at age 45, she initially assumed it was menopause. She desired an alternative answer, but by the time she met a doctor, it was too late. My arrival wasn't the consequence of a loving parental decision, based on what I've pieced together from overheard discussions and family whispers. I spent more time in the hospital than at home because I was born prematurely and had multiple health problems. Mom never paid much attention, constantly saying she had meetings that were too important to miss. Dad and my Aunt Rachel alternated in keeping an eye on me. Aunt Rachel has become the family's saint. Rachel was there, speaking encouragement through the incubator while my mother was probably closing deals. "You're going to be just fine, little one. You're stronger than you know." I still think about those words when things get hard. Upon my eventual release from the hospital, my grandfather George took over once more. After determining that our home was insufficient for 2 children, he purchased a brand new 5-bedroom mansion with an enormous backyard in one of Boston's greatest neighborhoods. However, the emotional gap in that home could not be filled by any amount of wealth. The immaculate white carpeting, high-end furnishings, and carefully chosen artwork made growing up there feel like living in a museum. I knew right away that I wasn't a part of the display and was an unwanted artifact. When I was 5 years old, I have one of my best memories. On this Take Your Child to Work Day, my classmates were all thrilled to go to their parents' places of employment. Mom gave me a look that made me feel foolish when I asked if I could go with her. "Don't be ridiculous, Deborah," she yelled. I chose to spend the day with Aunt Rachel at her comfortable painting studio instead, saying, "I have important meetings all day. You'd just be in the way. Besides, the office isn't a place for children." She gave me permission to paint, displayed my creations on her walls, and gave me a sense of importance. My haven was school. In an effort to avoid returning home, I threw myself into my studies and joined as many clubs as I could. "Such a quiet, well-behaved child," my teachers would say, praising me. They had no idea that I was afraid of being a burden at home, which is why I behaved well. Even during her brief holiday visits, Jennifer's lack of interest was evident, even though she was already enrolled in college when I entered elementary school. During the holidays, she would come in and tell me about her wonderful college experience, without mentioning me other than to gripe about how her old room had turned into my messy kid space. Grandpa George did his best to make up for my parents' lack of interest. Every few months, Dad would travel from Canada to visit, always bringing thoughtful presents like art supplies, books he knew I would enjoy, and other items that demonstrated his genuine interest in me. However, his presence was insufficient to address the underlying dysfunction in our family dynamic. In essence, Mom's approach to parenting was to spend money on issues and hope they would go away. Lessons in dance? Yes. Tutoring in private? In any case, attending my performance or parent-teacher conferences in person? Sorry, important meeting, can't reschedule. I received the same apathetic reaction for every accomplishment I made. "That's nice, dear. Dad wasn't much better. Now please be quiet, I'm on a call." It turned out that his promise to Mom that he would assist her with me if she chose to have me was a hoax. He was never too tired, or too busy, to hang out with me. I once tallied how many times he used his favorite phrase, "Not now, Deborah," in a single weekend, 17 times. I can still recall my 10th birthday. Naturally, Mom and Dad forgot. Without even asking what I would desire, they hurriedly ordered a pricey cake and threw money at me when Aunt Rachel reminded them. Jennifer never gave a call. The only actual celebration took place the next day at Rachel's house, when she set up a small gathering with homemade cake and decorations that she knew I would adore. I became increasingly aware of the truth of my circumstances as I grew older. I pieced together the facts from bits and pieces of drunken confessions and whispered disputes that I shouldn't have overheard. When I was 12, I overheard my parents arguing about me one evening. Mom, who was likely drinking her 3rd glass of wine, said, "She's just so demanding. Needing something, always wanting attention." I did not sign up for this. "How do you want me to handle this?" Dad retorted. "We can't really give her back." I began spending much more time at Aunt Rachel's after that. Her modest yet comfortable home turn became my actual residence. She would listen to my issues, help me with my homework, and teach me how to cook. All of the duties that parents are expected to perform. On the weekends, we would work on creative projects, bake cookies, or simply chat about life. She would inquire about my aspirations, anxieties, and future goals, things that my own parents never bothered to find out about. As the years passed, the gap between my life at home and my time with Rachel grew more pronounced. I was Debbie at Rachel's, loved, respected, and heard. I was Deborah at my parents' house, the misfit, the trouble, the unwelcome one. I discovered how to exist in these parallel universes, flipping between them like a television channel. Naturally, Grandpa George noticed. In order to guarantee that I would have assets of my own when I turned 18, Dad began making direct deposits into a private account on my behalf. With a knowing expression, he would say, "Just in case." I didn't realize at the time how prophetic those comments would turn out to be. The world can be unpredictable. It's interesting how life can throw you a curveball when you least expect it. When my parents dropped a bombshell on me, I was 18, counting down the days until I could leave for college, and struggling to get by each day in the emotional wasteland that was my home. "Deborah," Mom continued in a very upbeat tone, "we have amazing news. Jennifer, your sister, is pregnant and getting married. We're going to be grandparents," Dad added with a foolish smile. Wondering why they were telling me this as though I should be ecstatic, I forced a smile. "That's fantastic," I said. Mom went on, "We're going to be very busy preparing for the wedding," oblivious to my lack of excitement. Their eyes flitted to my bedroom door, and then all of a sudden everything fell into place. "Jennifer and her husband will need space for the baby when they move in with us after the wedding." It all made sense. The measuring tape I had seen in my room, the whispered discussions I had been overhearing, and their strange interest in my college aspirations. They were preparing for my departure as well as Jennifer's return. I realized that the upcoming weeks would be a game changer as I stood there and saw their faces light up at the thought of their real family getting together. I had no idea how drastically those changes would occur or how karma would soon make a big appearance in our family's drama. Update 1: How my parents officially erased me on my 18th birthday. Allow me to explain how my parents formally removed me from their lives on my 18th birthday. Aunt Rachel prepared her customary birthday pancakes and gave me the most considerate presents, including books, art tools, and a lovely handcrafted photo album of our times together. I spent the morning with her. Grandpa George was the true surprise. I initially assumed he was just being protective as usual, but now that I think about it, it seems like he knew something was coming. He had sent me the newest smartphone along with a letter that read, "Keep it handy and document anything important." When I got home to join in the celebration, he also requested me to participate in a live video call. I was unaware that I was going to document the proof that would make all the difference. I started the live video with Grandpa at noon and went home while talking to Aunt Rachel about my morning. Something didn't feel right when I opened the front door. There was an odd fragrance of fresh paint in the air, and the house was eerily quiet. My pulse began to race as I ascended the stairs to my room. Something was clearly off. I always left my door open, but now it was closed. I nearly dropped my phone in horror when I turned the handle. My room was no longer my own. After being covered in my photographs and artwork, the walls were recently painted a gentle shade of blue. An ornate white crib had taken the place of my bed. Teddy bears were all over the place, and where my desk had been, there was a rocking chair. To fit the nautical theme, even the curtains had been changed. I heard footsteps behind me at that moment. My parents were shocked to discover me filming as they came out of their bedroom. "Deborah," Mom said sternly. "Why are you in this place? Why are you taping too?" I was still processing the whole deletion of my existence, so I hardly paid attention to what she was saying. "My room. What happened to it? Where are all my belongings?" Dad nervously cleared his throat. "You see, Deborah, we've made the decision to give your sister's child this room. Because it has the most natural light, it's ideal for a nursery, and our first grandson deserves the best," he said. With a beaming passion that I had never seen directed at me, Mom interrupted, saying, "Jennifer is expecting a boy, the son your father has always desired." It seemed as though someone had punched me in the stomach. "However, where should I sleep? Where are my belongings?" With a dismissive gesture toward the stairs, Dad remarked, "Oh, we packed up your stuff. The garage is where the boxes are. When you depart, you ought to bring them along." "Go," my voice broke. "Leave, what do you mean? I call this place home." Mom's phony grin wavered. "Deborah, you must comprehend, dear. There just isn't room for you here anymore, especially with Jennifer and her husband moving in and the baby on the way. Furthermore, you should learn how to support yourself now that you are 18. What I was hearing was unbelievable. "No," I murmured, my voice wavering. No, I won't go. I also call this place home. You can't just ignore me like I don't exist. Mom finally lost her temper and said, "For heaven's sake, Deborah. Avoid being tough. This is about family, not about you." "I am a member of your family." Tears were flowing down my face as I yelled. "I am your daughter. My birthday is today, and you're throwing me out. Did you not even realize it was my birthday?" Dad rolled his eyes. "Is it your birthday? Is it the purpose of this outburst? We have no time for such nonsense." Their indifference struck me like a blow to the body. Mom looked anxiously at my phone, which was still filming everything, while I was crying. "Stop causing a commotion," she growled. "The neighbors will listen." "Well done," I fired back. "Give them permission. Make it clear to everyone your true character." Dad's fingers dug cruelly into my arm at that moment. He snarled, "That's enough," and pulled me to the stairs. "Leave right away and don't return." After a last shove, I was on the front porch with my stuff in hurriedly packed boxes. With a finality that reverberated in my bones, the door slammed behind me. I'm not sure how long I sat there crying, but Grandpa George's voice finally broke through my tears. "Are you there, Deborah, my love? I witnessed everything. Don't worry, we'll resolve this. For now, go to Rachel's, shall we? And be careful with the video." Having witnessed the entire event via Grandpa's shared live broadcast, Aunt Rachel was already waiting at her door when I got there. For the first time that day, I felt secure as she drew me into a strong embrace. Rachel insisted that my birthday be celebrated. She ordered my favorite meal, invited some of my closest friends over, and made every effort to make the day memorable. We all understood, however, that this was about more than just a botched birthday celebration. It was about my whole existence being completely upended. Grandpa George sent me an email that night when I was lying in bed in Rachel's guest room, which she started referring to as my room right away. He had a strategy, and his lawyer had saved and certified the live stream footage. He wrote, "The wedding is in 3 days. Be prepared. Karma occasionally requires a little assistance to get going." I didn't realize at the time how correct he was, or how spectacularly karma was about to hit. Update 2, Jennifer's wedding is the target of karma. Aunt Rachel demanded that we go to Jennifer's wedding even though we weren't invited. She helped me into a gorgeous blue frock she had purchased for the event and remarked, "We have every right to be there. Besides, we were specifically invited by Grandpa George." As soon as we walked into the reception area, I saw Grandpa. I felt uneasy since he was sitting at a table close to the front, looking sharp in his pricey suit. His exact plans were kept a secret from me, as he wanted to be prepared for some justice. As my parents had imagined, the ceremony itself was picture perfect. In her expensive gown, Jennifer looked stunning, and her new husband appeared to be a kind guy, although a little overwhelmed by the extravagance. Throughout the ceremony, Mom and Dad looked like the ideal family they had always envisioned, beaming with delight. As my parents worked the room throughout the reception, boasting about their expecting grandson and pregnant daughter, I observed from a corner table. They presumably hoped we wouldn't cause a commotion by deliberately placing us at the farthest table. If only they were aware of the impending danger. Grandpa George abruptly rose up during the celebratory supper as the congratulatory remarks got underway. The astonished best man handed over the microphone to him as he marched to the front of the room. There was silence in the room. He opened with the serene authority that only comes with age and wealth. "Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry to disturb this happy occasion, but there is a serious injustice that must be addressed. I have never seen a takedown as deliciously vicious as the one that followed." Grandpa meticulously described every aspect, from my parents' early denial of my existence to their recent eviction on my birthday. On the projection screen in the reception area, he presented a few selected segments from the live feed, allowing everyone to see their actual hues in high definition. He roared, "These people threw their own daughter out like garbage on her 18th birthday to make room for their new grandson. Keep an eye on this." The film showed Dad's physical aggressiveness and Mom's contemptuous cruelty. The guests' faces shifted from bewilderment to surprise to indignation. In fact, a few of Mom's best friends stood up and left. As she watched, Jennifer's mascara trickled down her cheeks, making her new spouse appear more uneasy. Grandpa wasn't done when Mom, her face flushed, tried to intervene. His voice was as frigid as ice when he turned to face my parents. "Let me state this unequivocally, I am altering my will. I will give Rachel and Deborah every money I have. Jennifer, Karen, and Michael, you're all totally disconnected. The investment accounts, the trust monies, everything, disappeared." The outcome was instantaneous chaos. Mom cried out in a choked voice, Jennifer wept about the future of her unborn child as Dad's face became a frightening shade of purple. The biggest surprise, though, was when a number of Dad's business associates got up and walked away, pointing out their business cards to Grandpa as they went. As you can see, my parents were unaware, or had conveniently forgotten, that Grandpa was not only rich but also a significant investor in a number of businesses, including the one where Dad worked and many of Mom's most important clients. Grandpa had a significant impact on both their business and social networks. Mom's well-cultivated social circle started apologizing and departing as we watched. Suddenly, Dad's coworkers were unable to look him in the eye. Jennifer's in-laws appeared to be having a heated argument while gathered in a corner. When Jennifer's new husband got up and declared he needed some air, it was the last straw. He still hasn't returned. He is reportedly speaking with divorce attorneys because he doesn't want to be associated with a family that has such a well-publicized problem. The best thing, though, is this. Do you recall the business cards that people were giving to Grandpa? As it happens, a number of Dad's colleagues had been searching for fresh investment prospects. By the end of the evening, Mom's clientele was beginning to appear extremely slender, and Dad's business had lost 3 significant investors. Grandpa smiled at me contentedly as we walked out of the celebration. Letting people ruin themselves is sometimes the best kind of retaliation, my love. All I did was make sure their audience was appropriate. Since then, my parents have been bombarding my phone with frantic messages about understanding, forgiveness, and family. They even attempted to break into Rachel's house yesterday when they arrived. I made the decision that enough was enough at that point. After glancing at Rachel, I made the choice that would alter everything. I want you to be my legal guardian, I replied. Our lawyer claimed it was almost a slam dunk with the video proof we had, and the paperwork was already underway. The reputation of Mom and Dad was in ruins. Their financial future appeared bleak, and they had been abandoned by their social group. At the time, Jennifer was residing with our parents. Her idyllic life was falling apart around her, and she was being shut out by her husband's family. As they say, karma is a wonderful thing. Tomorrow, I'm going to file for a restraining order. It should be an easy win because of the video proof of Dad's physical assault and their emotional abuse. If we wish to pursue a civil complaint, our attorney thinks we have sufficient funds for one as well. Grandpa George wasn't joking when he said that karma needed a little assistance occasionally, but it was worth every tear I ever shed because of my parents to see their meticulously maintained facade fall apart. Third update. I'm finally prepared to discuss how the wedding went, even though the effect has been utterly devastating. Karma did more than simply strike back. It composed a symphony of justice that would make any fan of vengeance cry with delight. Let's begin with the court case. Only 2 weeks after the disastrous wedding, the court hearing for Rachel's guardianship and my restraining order was set. My parents appeared in their most favored role, that of loving, worried parents who only wanted their daughter back. They had even engaged a public relations consultant to assist them develop their image, giving them advice on how to come out as contrite. The sight in the courtroom was unreal. In contrast to her typical power suits, Mom dressed her best concerned mother attire, complete with natural makeup and modest jewelry. In fact, Dad had a new haircut and, of all things, a Bible with him. They had even brought in character witnesses, mainly well-off friends, who were prepared to attest to their commitment as parents. They weren't ready for what we had though. In addition to the birthday video, our lawyer provided years' worth of financial documents that demonstrated how they had misappropriated the assistance funds that Grandpa had been sending for my upbringing. As it turned out, they had been transferring the majority of it, more than $200,000, to their personal investment accounts and Jennifer's trust fund. I will never forget the judge's expression as the footage was being played again. She even halted the proceedings to inquire if I wanted to file criminal charges when it reached the point when Dad physically pulled me out. I refused. It was enough torture to watch their world fall apart. She was adamant, nonetheless, about sending the case to the district attorney's office for examination. For my parents, the judge's decision was terrible. In addition to being given full guardianship, they were mandated to reimburse Rachel for all of the money that had been embezzled from her support, plus interest. They must keep at least 500 feet away from Rachel and myself, according to the restraining order that was granted. However, that was only the start of their demise. Do you recall the wedding's business contacts? They were rushing, not simply walking away. After a number of investors left, Dad's company carried out an internal audit, which revealed several dubious choices he had made. He was relegated to a role with little actual authority or client contact, but he wasn't dismissed outright. Interns now share a cubicle with the man who once held the corner office. Even more spectacularly, Mom's career collapsed. Her once advantageous reputation as a brutal businesswoman was now viewed differently. Clients canceled contracts citing ethical concerns when the video of her ruthlessly evicting her own daughter went viral in local business circles. She now reports to someone who was once her junior associate after her corner office was moved to a cubicle 3 floors down. The social repercussions were just as disastrous. Following a particularly contentious board meeting where the video was aired, their membership in the country club was cancelled. To get away from them, old friends crossed the street. Their names inexplicably disappeared off the donor wall when their church requested that they take a break from committee work. In little than a month, the meticulously crafted social standing they had spent decades cultivating fell apart. Things haven't gotten much better for Jennifer. 2 weeks after the wedding, her husband filed for divorce, citing fraudulent misrepresentation of family character. She continues to live with our parents, using department store maternity clothes in place of her fashionable pregnancy outfit. My former room, the nursery they so brutally evicted me for, is now empty and underused, while her ideal suburban dream has degraded into sharing her old adolescent bedroom with her expectant child. The impact on finances has been enormous. Grandpa George wasn't threatening the will in a meaningless way. He essentially moved the majority of his assets out of my parents' grasp by having his attorneys create an irrevocable trust for Rachel and me. They have now received eviction papers from the house they reside in, which is officially held by one of Grandpa's businesses. While the investigation into the stolen support monies is ongoing, their investment portfolio has been placed on hold. They made every effort to turn things around, including offering treatment, making heartfelt apologies, and even trying to buy Rachel's neighbors to spy on us. They sent their lawyer to negotiate last week, seemingly ready to forgive me if I could persuade Grandpa to restore their inheritance. It was almost impressive how bold they were. For my part, things has taken a surprisingly positive turn. In what is now officially my permanent residence, Rachel and I share a home. We've painted my room in my favorite colors, hung my artwork, and made it genuinely so it's no longer just a guest room. Rachel even assisted me in creating a fairy light-equipped reading nook near the window. I feel like I have a true home for the first time in my life. Grandpa George established a substantial college fund, and I've received acceptance offers for the next autumn semester from multiple universities. I'm going to study psychology with a focus on family trauma therapy because, well, I might as well apply my life experience. I've already begun assisting other teenagers from toxic homes deal with their circumstances by working at a nearby youth shelter. The amount of support I've received has been tremendous. It seems that many people in similar circumstances found resonance in my narrative. I've started a blog to chronicle my healing process, joined support groups, and gained new friends that can relate to what I've been through. The texts I get every day from people going through similar things give me hope that all of this suffering can lead to something positive. Yesterday, my parents' most recent attempt to get in touch was a formal letter from their lawyer threatening to sue me for defamation if I don't take back my false accusations. Our lawyer actually chuckled when he read it, but he also reminded them that we have everything on video and that the truth is an absolute defense against defamation. As I reflect on the last 3 months, I've come to the essential realization that sometimes the family you were born into isn't the one you were intended to be with. I learned what unconditional, encouraging, and respectful family love looks like from Rachel and Grandpa George. They have only ever asked for my pleasure and well-being in exchange. To everyone who helped me along the way, you have no idea how much your messages, counsel, and experiences have aided me. The Reddit community turned out to be a surprising wellspring of knowledge and courage. You showed me that standing up for myself wasn't selfish and that I wasn't wrong to ask my parents to have basic human decency. There is hope for people who are still stuck in unhealthy familial environments. Create a support system, keep track of everything, and never forget that you deserve better. Being related by blood does not give someone the right to mistreat you. Those who don't love you well don't define your value. I've legally changed my identity, I have a real home, and I can finally control my future when I start college in the fall. Karma rolls hard, but occasionally it needs a little prodding. I'm sure my folks are reading this, so I hope it was worthwhile. You lost the daughter you never cared to adore as well as everything else because of your ideal family image. Reddit, I appreciate you sharing in my path to liberation.